I talk about the fact that I'm a feminist as often as I can, and every time I do, it gets huge reaction, and media reacts, and the Twitterverse explodes, and things like that, because here I am saying I'm a feminist. I will keep saying that until there is no more reaction to that when I say it, because that's where we want to get to. It's just, if you're a progressive, you really should be a feminist, because it's about equality, it's about respect, it's about making the best of the world that we have.
And we often talk about the role models for women and the need for more role models for women. What about men? What kind of role models do they need?
Well, my own role models on that have been my mom, who went through some very, very tough times as a young woman in a political world that was uncompromising in terms of the role of women and the expectations of what a First Lady of Canada would actually do and be, and she ended up being a very strong voice for me for women's rights. My dad was too, because he was good on equality. He wasn't great on feminism, but he was good on equality and rights, and that was his generation. That's where I sort of come from. My wife Sophie continues to challenge me, and one of the things that, we were having a conversation at one point. I said, look, I talk to our daughter Ella. I talk to Ella all the time about how she can do anything she wants, and she's just as good as any, and she's better than any man because she's brilliant and she's wonderful and everything. And Sophie's like, good, that's great, but how are you saying that to our sons as well? How are you training your sons to be focused on women's rights and women's opportunities the way you're focused on telling your daughter that she can be anything? And that for me was a really important wake up, and that's great for me.
They're so young. How do you do it at such an early age?
Part of it is modeling, showing that that I'm attentive and respectful and very much in a partnership with Sophie. In a certain sense, highlighting gender stereotypes has been a little more challenging, because we're in a family where Sophie does a lot of great activism and work in public speaking, but she's mostly a mom, and I'm the one who's the breadwinner, and we live in a place because of my job. So that's a little more that's been a little more challenging in some ways than getting them to be open to LGBT issues. I mean, because we have friends who have one of my close friends is married to a wonderful guy, and they've adopted a child. There's a much greater awareness of gay rights equality than sometimes the gender imbalances that still remain. So there's a challenge to be thoughtful about all those things together. And we had a great conversation about mental illness and what that means, and sick not weak and stuff. And my son, who's 8 now, and the 2-year-old, we're still easing him along, but the 8-year-old is getting it. But when you look at what conversations they have in the schoolyard, and I caught Ella Grace at one point leafing through a magazine, a Vogue or a Cosmo or something, and saying, she's a 10, she's just sort of an 8. I mean, she's nice, but the face is sort of medium. And it's like, my God, Ella, what are you? Well, I mean,
what
this
did you
just,
say?
Sophie, come here and talk to Ella. I mean, it was just, Sophie, Ella, you can't judge people by their appearances. She goes, but this is a magazine that is all about judging on appearances. And I'm sort of like, okay, I'm raising a good debater there. That's great. But just talking about it and getting through that reflections and sort of engaging with inner strength, inner beauty, real people, personality, like all that stuff. It's messy being a parent, but it's exciting.
How do you balance fatherhood with being the Prime Minister?
There's no question that I work extremely hard. I'm traveling around the country, now a little more around the world. I've worked long hours. Being able to get home to see them every night, or almost every night when I'm in Ottawa, is great. Being able to bring them with me on trips when I can is really important. My dad did that with us. He'd bring us with him, one of us with him, when he would go on overseas trips, and we got to see the world and engage, and mostly got to spend good quality time with our dad. But throughout, I just sort of remember, look, I'm in politics not in spite of the fact that I have kids, but because of the fact that I have kids. And they keep me really grounded in, well, am I doing things that are meaningful, or am I just sort of playing the game? I mean, is it worth it? I never know whether I could have the perfect solution on that or the perfect answer, but just asking the question, is the time I am away from them compensated by the fact that I'm busy making a better world for them? And am I getting that balance right? And then, am I remembering to turn off my BlackBerry? Am I remembering
You turn it off sometimes?
I'm not supposed to anymore because I need to be accessible in case something happens.
Yep.
But do I put my work aside and do I focus on them when I'm with them, so I'm not sort of half, oh yeah, no, that's nice, or working or reading. I take time to work and I take time to play with them, and it's similar with Sophie. I have time where I'm working and time where I'm just the goofy husband.
Do you know feminist Ryan Gosling, the meme? Familiar
Yes,
with
yeah,
it?
I've seen a little bit of that. Yes.
There's a study that shows that when men were exposed to the meme, they were more likely to identify as with feminist beliefs. Would you be willing for us to use a photo of you and put the feminist meme? Like we'll put it for you.
Absolutely.